All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Real McCoy Radio, specifically episode number 9. Man, am I excited about today's guest. Welcome, Larry North.
Thank you. By the way, I am a 9. I have a numerologist. My birthday's February 9th, and 9 happens to be my lucky number.
Here we go, man. So, we lined it up perfect for you.
Yes, you did.
Wow. So this is, we were chatting before we started here, and this is a really exciting interview for me. I had always wanted to own gyms. I just fell in love with exercise at a young age. You know, my mom and I would work out, my dad and I would work out. And I decided pretty early on, I wanted to own gyms. And, your name in Dallas and kind of all over is synonymous with, kind of the gym owner.
Well, I appreciate that. It's hard to step out of yourself and see that. But, I've been doing this a long time. I always say I'm probably not the first trainer in Dallas, but I'm in the conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
And those others that are in the conversation, I guarantee you don't know their names.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you've kind of, in my eyes, from a young age, defined what a gym owner or trainer could do. You are set an example of success and what could someone accomplish in this space.
Well, I tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've done a lot of things right too. And my journey of opening up my first gym was quite an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and just for those, that aren't familiar, you haven't just been the gym owner. You've owned gyms in Dallas and other markets, but you had a globally successful infomercial.
Correct. It was called the Great North American Slim Down. It was #1 for almost a decade, in the top 10.
Yeah.
In Australia, New Zealand, Canada, here. I mean, if you owned a television in the 90s, you saw it because it aired constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd fall asleep in a hotel room, leave the TV on, I'd wake up to my own voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And even I went to New Zealand one time and I get on the bus, I go, he's like, hey, mate, you're that Slim Down guy. You're like, wow, that's so cool. You're at the other end of the world, and someone recognizes you. Yeah.
You've had restaurants.
I have North-South restaurant. I think I was ahead of my time. I did the healthy version of a restaurant in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so the theme was, well, I have to step back a bit. So I read a book called Guerrilla Marketing back in the 80s. And it sort of really had an influence on me because it was, how do you market yourself without spending any money? And it's a little easier to do that now through social media, but back then there was no social media. There wasn't even a cell phone. There wasn't even an email.
Yeah.
And I came up with this idea. I'm going to go to these restaurants and I'm going to say, hey, if you put a Larry North plate on your menu, I'll promote it on the radio. And then I'll make it so you never have to have food get sent back. The kitchen will know exactly how to prepare it. It's going to be maybe chicken, rice, broccoli. I'll use the ingredients you have in your restaurant. I'm not kidding. After a year, I had 80 restaurants around town. Talk about great marketing. I was in a restaurant once and someone's reading the menu. They go, who the hell is Larry North? And I'm right behind him. I'm like, good, that's good. Then I ended up doing my own restaurant. And real quickly, the theme was anything on the restaurant, you could order north or south. So if you wanted chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and gravy and green beans, and you wanted it done healthy, where we bake it and we don't put any fat on the vegetables and the potatoes the same way, and it's just more spices, or we would do it that way. You'd order it north. If you order it south, I'll double deep fry it for you. So nice. Give you what you want. So it's really a cool place, and I just had so much going on at the time, and that's all. You have to really devote 100% of your time to that restaurant. But it got 4 stars from the Dallas Morning News in food, service, and atmosphere.
Wow.
So I felt that was pretty damn good.
That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, for a health concept restaurant.
Yeah.
So
that's great. And then you've been on the radio for over 30 years.
This January will be my 34th year. Wow. Which is crazy. How'd that happen?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Decades.
So that you're no stranger to the microphone.
No stranger to the mic. I always say I love a mic and I love a camera too. Yeah. So, my 2 favorite friends.
And then we just keep going. Best-selling author.
I had 3 books. There's a great story behind everything that I had. Really started off a failure. So my first infomercial tanked. And I convinced the largest infomercial company in the world to sell me the rights for a bag of shells, flipped it to another company, and it became successful. Wow. My first book, Get Fit, I got 13 rejection letters from publishers. And I just whined and complained to my literary agent that I only had her because she liked me, not because I was a big client. And she said, she goes, most publishers don't even take the time to write a letter of rejection. Yeah. On the 14th letter, a guy decided to do my book. darn book sat on the bestseller list for 156 straight weeks.
Man,
but 13 failures.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
you never know when that number 14 is coming around.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story in and of itself.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to. I phrased these first two questions around Dallas. I'm from Dallas. You're from Dallas. Many of the people that watch this are from Dallas. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Dallas gym scene? Like, what have you seen kind of in macro phases, like be successful and not?
I think I know it pretty well.
Yeah,
because of my age. Because if I was a little younger, I wouldn't. Would be a few people I wouldn't know. Mm-hmm. So if you go back to my teenage years, and you had Doug's Gym downtown. You had the downtown YMCA and a few other YMCAs, but they weren't very well equipped back then. Because it wasn't a big deal. You also had National Health Studios. A guy named Ronnie Ray owned National Health Studios, and there was one in Richardson. That's one of the first gyms I actually worked out.
What year are we talking here?
We're talking late 70s. Okay. And so and they had big powerlifting dudes, but it was all chrome.
Okay.
Everything was chrome, and you had to wear white. Okay. You had to wear like a white sweat outfit or white shorts. So it's like everyone was
mandatory?
dressed like, it looked like a weird movie, like some sort of throwback movie.
Yeah.
But some of those guys were big, and they were like mean dudes.
Yeah.
But I looked up to them. Like I was like, I want that. And then I went to Doug's gym shortly after. Then you had there was no bodybuilding gyms really at the time. And then shortly after, as things started to progress and bodybuilding became a little bit popular and Dallas started to grow, you had President's Health Club. Actually, you had Ray and Claire Stern. Mm-hmm. So Ray Stern, for people that were in town, 80s, 90s, everyone knew Ray. Mm-hmm. Ray was a multimillionaire. He was a former wrestler from New York. He had a lot of presence.
Okay.
Ray loved me, and I loved Ray. And even though I was a lot younger, I used to spot him in the gym. When I worked at President's First Lady, which was his building. Okay. He owned the building.
Gotcha.
And he would have me spot him, and the general manager, who's also a pretty famous gym guy, Sonny Reeser, who went on to Bally's and become a big executive, he pulled me in his office and said, "Hey, we don't pay you to spot Ray Stern." So the next time Ray comes in, I go, "Mr. Stern, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to get in trouble if I spot you." He goes, "Oh?" He walks into Sonny's office. He comes back. He goes, "You can spot me anytime you want." And he was just that kind of guy.
Yeah, sure,
and I really did love him. And so you had Ray and Claire Stearns, and then Presidents sort of came along, and then Bally's started doing the big roll-up at that time. Mm-hmm. This was in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Also, you did have National Health Studios came into the market in the late 70s too, but they were a pure scam.
Okay.
Like they were get as much money as they can. And after 4 months, they were on to another city or another town. It really put a bad. It sort of didn't fare well for people in the gym business because
we're still dealing with that reputation.
You had a bunch of charlatans and just really corrupt people in the business. And then Bally's and Presence, they started selling these 3-year paper. And people, we know people they join and don't come. Sure. Most Gen Pop, that's just going to be the case. So they join, they'd sign 3-year paper, their credit would get screwed up. And they didn't care. Like your credit's going to get screwed up for a gym membership. Yeah. And so that also hurt. And it was real hard sell tactics. I know because I was doing it. I was told to do it. Yeah. But I learned a lot too because they did actually have sales training protocols. And then sort of as things got a little bit deeper into the 80s, I shared a gym that you weren't familiar with that was out of Fort Worth. So you had Balloons Gym, you had Metroflex, you had Royal Gym. There was a gym called Royal Gym that was off Royal Lane in like midway Webb's Chapel, more of a bodybuilding gym. Okay. You had American Gym, which was a little bit more Oak Lawn-ish. Okay. And I was so naive, not that I could care less whether someone's gay or not, but Doug and my buddy Doug Murphy and I would go there. We'd like to go to different gyms. We'd go to Balloons in Fort Worth. We'd go to American Gym. And like, I didn't know till like a year later. Doug goes, that everyone's in here is gay except us. I go, and I kid him. I go, well, I know I'm not. but so you had American Gym. So you had these pop-ups that would last 2 or 3 years because the gym business, as you know, you got in there as a young man. It's not an easy business. No. But I'll tell you what, like you, we have a similarity. So I worked in the bars from the time I was 19. The drinking age was 18 when I was 19. So I worked as a bouncer. what's a weightlifter going to do for a living?
Sure,
Go
yeah.
bounce. Why not? So I was bouncing in bars, but I would like burn your ear off by telling you, I'm going to do a gym someday. And I knew what the gym would look like.
Yeah.
I knew what kind of equipment I wanted. I knew how I was going to treat people, because then Austin Gym came along. So I was Austin Gym.
I've heard a lot about that one.
Well, Austin Gym and The Gym were the two premier bodybuilding gyms. I worked out at both, but I had a special fondness for Rollin Jail because Rollin really took me under his wing, and I was his 25th member that he ever had.
Okay.
He came out to Richland College where I was working out. I actually worked in their little gym, just, towels and, making sure you were a student kind of thing. And he did a little presentation. I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm like, I'm going to go join your gym. It was a dump. It was 3,500 square feet in what was called the Spanish Village Shopping Center in Richardson. He later moved it down the road. But I'll tell you what, there were some fond memories out of that gym. And so anyone on this side of town, they worked out at the Austin Gym.
Yeah.
And even to this day, you'll run into people go, man, I remember you from the Austin Gym.
Yeah.
And they remembered my partner at the time, Doug Murphy, because Doug and I just were always there. And that's how I ended up training people, by the way.
Okay.
You want to hear how?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I used to, I had to work. So I sold shoes, I bounced in bars, and I worked out in the gym. But if I was going to work out, I had to be at the shoe floor by like 10. So I was sometimes in the gym at 4 or 5.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of people in the gym at 4 or 5. One day, this very heavy sick guy, I'm thinking 400 poundish. It's dark outside. There's no one in the gym but me. I'm trying to catch a cat nap after I did some squats. And I see him come in. And he turns around, he walks out. So I don't know why, but I chased him down.
Yeah, something in you.
And I scared him because it's dark.
Yeah.
It's he's like, what's this big guy? I said, no. I said, I just happened to watch you come in. And then you left. Can I ask you why? He said, there's no hope for me. He goes, there's no hope. I'm wasting my time. I said, you're not. I said, did you not even know? The hardest part was getting out of that bed, getting into that car, and get to the gym. That's the hard part. And I said, I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I said, I will train you for free 3 times a week. I'll meet you here. You tell me what time. I'll meet you here. But I stop training you the day you miss a workout.
Yeah.
I did it for 90 days. He lost like 40 pounds.
Wow.
And that was sort of the beginning. I'm like, there's something here.
There's something, yeah. This is before personal training is not a career path.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And then in 1984, I got my first like bit of publicity, which was D Magazine. And man, I had a ton. People were paying $50 an hour back in '84. That has to be at least $100 an hour, maybe more than that. So anyway, so the gym business in Dallas. Then what happened is, you get into the 90s. Bruce Nichols from Houston, who owns Fitness Connection, he started Gold's Gyms down here, and you had these Golds popping up, and then and all of a sudden, and Bally's had more locations, and then Mark Mastroff started rolling up 24-hour fitness, and he bought some of my gyms at the time, and he bought Gold's Gyms. He ended up with like 20 clubs that he bought in this market to roll into 24-hour fitness. And, but if we have time, I would love to share with you how I started the first gym, because it is a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
So my mom had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and we didn't have any money really at the time, and she went to Parkland, which is city hospital. So that's all she could afford. Yeah. And so it was really a dark time in our lives, because I had younger brothers that were pretty young. I'm 10 years older than them, and I was just like, I was like 20, 21, 22, 23, and it was just rough. And so, but she got through it. And then afterwards, she decided she wanted to go to California and recover with her sister. And one of my twin brothers went with her. The other twin wanted to finish high school. So he's 16, so now I'm 26. Okay. And he lived with me. And I love what he says. He says, we lived in a not-so-nice apartment in a not-so-nice neighborhood. And he goes, you know how you know it's not nice? They don't deliver pizza to your door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty bad.
That's a sign.
But it's what we afford. But I didn't care. I had to take care of him. And, we're just getting by. That's the way it was. We grew up with no money in our house. And so then one day, I come home. I have a piece of paper. I go up 3 flights of stairs, and I go, Adam, you're not going to believe this. I just signed a lease to do a gym in the Highland Park Village. Now, mind you, we had a mattress in one bedroom, a mattress in the other bedroom, and nothing but a big TV in the living room. No furniture.
Yeah.
So I said, Adam, You're not, this is a lease. This is a Highland Park Village. I just signed a lease. I'm doing a gym. And he's looking at me. He's like, big brother, how?
Yeah.
I said, forget about that. I got a new piece of furniture. Come downstairs and help me bring it up.
Yeah.
Get downstairs. He sees a treadmill at the base of the stairs.
Okay.
We bring the treadmill up. And I said, listen, I got a lot to do. I got to figure this out. It's my responsibility. I'll figure it out. And I said, I'll be back in a couple hours, but we have to talk because you're going to have to help me with this gym. You're going to be my first employee. And so I leave. I'm going to the bank. I'm getting a bank account. I'm doing all these things. I come back and my brother, I kid you not, he's positioned the treadmill so he can see himself in the bathroom mirror. He's got nothing but tighty-whities on, and he's got sneakers, and he's jogging. I go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He goes, big brother, if you're going to open up a gym, I got to get in shape. And so I shut the treadmill off. I said, come on, man, Adam, sit down. We're going to have a little sit down. We sit down in the living room, and I say to my brother, I said, listen, and you know what this means. I said, this is my dream.
Yeah.
It's my dream. My dream, I've always known I was going to have a gym.
Yeah.
Now, I signed a lease, and I know I don't have any money, and I don't know how I'm going to raise the money, but I'm going to figure it out. And I know it's not your dream, but I need you to help me fulfill my dream. You help me, I promise, Adam, I will help you fulfill your dreams. But you got to know which dreams are.
Yeah.
He goes, it was like a reel spinning in his head.
Wow.
He goes, big brother, Larry, he goes, I know what I want. I want to retire when I'm 35. I want to travel the world, and I want to live the good life. And I'm like, that's pretty ambitious, pretty ambitious. But I said, so be it.
Yeah.
If that's your dream, Adam, don't let go of that dream, because you know how badly I've wanted to have my own gym, and I know I'm going to do it. And I picked the best real estate maybe in the country.
Yeah.
So then you have what's called, I call it the white ceiling mode. Like that's a white ceiling right there, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're laying in that mattress and you're looking up. And I if you haven't had this, you will someday.
Uh-huh.
But you're looking up at the ceiling. You go, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
Oh, I've had it.
Like yeah, we all have had
Had
it.
several.
Like, how am I really going to do this?
Yeah.
And then I had just we don't have enough time to tell you the calamity of misfortunes of leading up to it, and and I was intense back then. My father was a Brooklyn-born mobster, so I have a little bit of him in me, but I have more of my mom, who's just this precious, honest human being. But like I have a little bit of bite, and so I just the guy that was supposed to get me the equipment, I was able to take my mom's entire life savings at that time of $5,000. She just gave it to me. She said, just take it. And then I had a girl that I dated who had a little bit of money. She gave me $5,000. So I had $10,000 to put down on the equipment. Uh-huh. And the guy, Hayden, I remember him, Hayden Supplies, I didn't make enough money in the pre-sale to pay for the rest of it to be delivered.
Sure.
But
Okay.
but I'm having a grand opening party. I have no equipment in my gym.
Oh, gosh.
I'm having the grand opening party in like a week.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, I said, listen, I'm sitting across the desk like this. And I said, and my brother's with me. And I say, John, man, please, just trust me, man. I'll figure this out. I'm having a party. And it's not so much that he refused me.
Yeah.
It's the way he was talking to me.
Okay.
It was so bad. And even my brother was like, oh my God. Like at first my brother was like, you're letting this guy talk to you like that? And I knew he was thinking that. But then the next thing he goes, Larry, no. Because I was already over the table.
Oh,
and I
gosh.
literally knocked the guy. And that's, you don't do that as a grown man. But when you're a young man, you sometimes do that. And I was just, my arm was cocked back. But then my other guy came and said, don't do that.
The mom side kicked in.
Yeah. Mom side kicked in. And I said, I didn't, but then I didn't know what to do. I go to a friend of mine who was a client. He was a lawyer, and I just, it was midnight. I was just so frustrated because like, how am I going to open up? I'm going to close before I even open.
Sure.
And so he came down with a check. He wrote it, the amount down. I didn't ask for it. He volunteered it, and he said, I have only one condition. Don't ever make me have to ask for it back. Just pay me first.
Yeah.
Well, long story short, I opened the gym. Don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
And April will be my 31st year in business.
Man, wow.
And so many good things you talked about, books, relationships, being in Highland Park and meeting all these who's and getting advice in business and in life and, infomercials and traveling the world. But let me go back to Adam. Adam did work with me, my brother. Mm-hmm. He did not retire at 35. He retired at age 36.
Wow.
He's not traveled the world once. He's on his 10th lap.
Oh my gosh.
And he lives in he built a house in the jungle in Tulum, and he just finished building a beautiful new 2-bedroom apartment in town. And he lives with the love of his life. She's this gorgeous Russian Israeli woman, and he truly lives a good life.
That's great.
So dreams are possible.
I think like your story is just the definition of, I forget who says it, but the more people you can help, the more successful you'll be. And with all you've become an ambassador of fitness, really.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that you've helped so many people lead a life of activity, and I think that's been a huge contribution to your success.
Let me tell you how smart you are. What you just said. The guy who wrote that check, the lawyer, that was his advice to me. He
Really?
said, Larry, help as many people along the way as you can, and it'll keep mushrooming you up.
Yeah.
And if you notice, our industry doesn't understand that. There's there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of people worried that, if you're successful, it's going to affect their slice of the pie. The pie just keeps getting larger. So why not be connected? Why not work as a team? In fact, I think all independents should create a coalition, because we're having to go up against the same problems.
Yeah.
And so, and I've always been that way. I've always tried to help. I had to fire a woman not too long ago. It hurt me. I had to let this woman go. She just wasn't right for our system. I ended up getting her a job where she's making twice the money.
Yeah.
Like, who fires someone but gets them a job? Because I liked her. I knew I wasn't firing her for any hostile reason, just a performance reason. So anyways, but no, thank you for saying that, because it's true.
Yeah.
And I would tell you to do the same thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's a history lesson for us. From your
perspective, took a long time.
No. That's all right. I'm hanging on the words. From your perspective, where is the Dallas market in particular going to be 5, 10, 20 years? Like right now, we're kind of in this, like, I feel like there's a new $10 a month club opening up every weekend.
Well, you've had what I would call, and what they tend to call, a lot of business disruption. And it started with Lifetime. So Lifetime's probably been in the market 12, maybe 15 years. I think Plano was one of their first ones.
Yep.
And they became like a nuclear bomb with a 5-mile radius to anyone that was in their way.
Yeah.
And just flatten people. Then along comes concepts like CrossFit, where they're getting $200 a month, $220 a month, $180 a month, when we're having to pull teeth to get $50 a month or $85 a month. And then Equinox chooses to come into the market a little bit more on the high end side, a full year commitment, $140, $150, $160 a month, charging $120 to $150 for training. So you got your Lifetime and your Equinox. Now we're at the point where there's very few independents. It's just hard to be an independent. I think I'm one of the longest running independent owners.
Oh, for sure.
It was Doug. And then it became me, and certainly Doug only had one, so it became me with multiples. And so then all these little concepts, which was a business inside the business, be it bar method, Pilates, some sort of martial arts, some sort of cycle studio, some sort of dance, whatever it is. Now these are independent yoga.
Yeah.
Now there's you can't drive down the street without seeing a yoga studio, a stretch studio, a CrossFit gym. They're all over. There's a saturation, and we're all fighting for the same customer. Now, depending on the neighborhood, though, and then as you mentioned, Fitness Connection, Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, Workout Anytime. There's a a proliferation. And let's face it, not everyone's going to survive.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to survive. There's going to be some casualties.
Yeah.
When, I'm not sure, but there's also going to be someone new, like an Orange Theory pops up. I remember going to one of our trade shows.
Or this F45 is really taken.
Yeah, and Barry's Boot Camp. And there's always some innovative concept. But here's what's happened, though, and here's where it gets hard for guys like you and me. There's private equity involved now. So Orange Theory gets private equity, and they're able to hire firms that come up with the colors and the concept and the marketing. Unlike an independent guy, we don't have that kind of ability. And then you get guys like the Equinox Corporation buying SoulCycle. Then they buy Barry's Boot Camp. And then other private equity firms thinking, So for example, there's a franchisee. Not the franchisor, the people that own Planet, the franchisee, the largest franchisee of Planet Fitness is $1 billion company.
Wow.
they do $100 million in EBITDA, and they're a franchisee.
Yeah.
So they could sell their company for $1 billion.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. and then my buddy, I'll tell you a great story. This is a great history lesson on the gym business. One of my best friends, his name is Johnny Delavandine. And he was my partner in the 90s at 2 clubs. And we've just been friends ever since. 3-decade friendship.
Yep.
Well, when the Star came into Frisco, do you know who they were going to partner with? Equinox. My friend, his kids played football with Stephen Jones' kids. He called Stephen and said, "You're making a huge mistake." He goes, "What do you mean? You're going with Equinox." He goes, "Why is that a mistake? They're great gyms." He goes, "Yeah, but they're never gonna promote your brand. They're Equinox. They're not gonna go Dallas Cowboy Gym by Equinox."
Yeah.
He goes, "I didn't think of that." He goes, "Well, what should I do?" He goes, "You should talk to Mark Mastroff." Now, we had sold clubs to Mark.
Yeah.
Johnny kept in good friendship with Mark. Mark flew down the next day, and he threw a pamphlet right in front of Stephen Jones. He goes, "You know what that is? Al Davis," because Mark's from California.
Yeah.
He goes, "I gave that concept to Al Davis 10 years ago, who was the owner of the Oakland Raiders." And so he'd already had the concept. So through that was born Cowboys Fit. And my buddy was the conduit to that, but he wasn't the CEO at the time. But I kept introducing him to people as a CEO. And like we get in the parking lot, he'd punch me in the arm. I go, "What's that for?" He goes, "Quit saying I'm the CEO."
Yeah.
And then he ends up being the CEO.
Yeah.
And so they're downtown. They're going to probably take over Baylor. They're in Plano. And the one in Frisco has 14,000 members.
Yeah, it's crazy.
14,000 members. It's only 40,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It's not that big.
Yeah.
So here's here's where we are with this. There's a lot of people making a lot of money in this business. Don't think they're not. The guy who franchises CrossFit, multimillionaire. The Orange Theory guy, Orange Theory has made multiple millionaires. Franchisees and the corporate offices and shareholders, stakeholders. Brahm, who started Lifetime Fitness, is worth $400 or $500 million, and still running Lifetime, so he'll get another bite of the apple. Mark Mastroff, to me, is the most iconic person who's sort of more in today's world. I mean, there's people from the past, but Mark's the most iconic, and Mark's probably close to being a billionaire, and he still owns over 1,000 clubs across the world where he does partnerships. And now they're growing this NFL concept. He's just sold Crunch and made $1 gazillion. So he owns UFC gyms. Like there's a lot going on. But so there are a lot of people making money. But as you know, there's also a lot of people that struggle because it's far from an easy business. It is. In fact, do you know that I never advertised $1 till 3-4 years ago?
Really?
Never advertised.
Yeah.
My advertisement was get me on TV.
Sure,
get me on radio.
You were the advertisement.
Get me in front of a group.
Yeah.
You know. But you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You have to, in order to be successful, you have to figure out a way to get leads, to get people in your gym, to differentiate yourself.
That leads me perfectly into my next question, which is I know I get the question a lot about, hey, I have this dream to open a gym. How do I do it? I can only imagine how often you've heard that. But what piece of advice do you have for that person that wants to open a gym one day?
Well, I think I would tell them that, always fulfill and live your dreams, but know this, it's not, being the first to turn on the light and the last to turn it off.
It's not sexy.
It's not always what you think it is. And you're the last to get paid, and decide what you want to do in life and how much money you want to make, and make sure that this is what you want to do, and can you differentiate yourself. So I think it would have been an easier question to answer 30 years ago, even 20 years ago. Now you got to be able to raise some capital too, because everything's expensive. Like my gym in Preston Center, because I know how to do a gym, it would have cost anyone else over $1 million to do that gym.
Sure, I'm sure
maybe $1.5 million.
Between connections and experience, you were able to.
I can value engineer it. My finish out cost me $350. It would cost anyone else $7, $8.
Yeah.
Not to mention the equipment aspect too. So you have to have capital, and then also too. Here's another problem that we're faced with. The rents are astronomical now.
Yeah.
They're insane. I am a great negotiator of real estate because I understand what a gym can and cannot pay, but newbies don't know that.
Yeah.
Newbies are ambitious and they're thinking, oh,
I can sell that many. Yeah.
$35 a square foot and $15 triple net. No, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't make economical sense
Sure.
when you put the math together. So you have to have some really unique situation, so that's sort of how it is.
So that's I was talking to Jim Thomas recently.
I know Jim.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, kind of finish his sentence for him. So he told me, he was like, Greg, there will always be gyms for sale. There's always going to be equipment. There's always going to be someone with money. And then he gave me his opinion about what differentiates someone to go the distance. So what do you think is that differentiator so someone can have success in this business?
Well, here's what I would do if I were starting all over.
Mm-hmm.
I would do what you're doing right now. I would have a podcast. I'd have cameras. I would just immerse myself in social media. I would also go and be a low-cost producer, so I'd come up with something hip and fun. The world's changed. I haven't changed. I work out this by myself. I lift weights. I walk on a treadmill and watch, podcasts, movies, whatever, and I eat clean. That works for me.
Yeah.
That's not what people want anymore. Certainly a younger generation. They like team. They like competition. They like that sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people are looking for, community. And so I would come up with a smaller box, a smaller footprint, and something that you could duplicate relatively easy with relatively low capital. And I would take as little capital as possible to open one or two. So I would do it with friends, family, just credit cards.
Yeah.
I would tap myself out just to get the first one open.
Just bootstrap it from the beginning.
And Norm Brinker, I don't know if you know who that is. So Norm Brinker is a famous restaurateur. He owned Brinker International, Chili's, Maggiano's. I mean, they were the biggest in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a mentor of mine. And he passed away, unfortunately, but he's a legend worldwide.
Yeah.
And Norm once told me that the first one's hard, but the hardest one's the second one. Because you have to prove the second one in order to do the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh.
Sure.
Because once you prove number two, you're home run.
Yeah.
You're off to the races. So that would be more I would go more, believe it or not, the Barry boot campy kind of thing. I would do less what I want and more what the consumer wants.
Yep.
And then maybe cross-pollinate it with some sort of training that I like. But I wouldn't have my training be the focus. I would have what people want be the focus, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And so, and I would do my homework. I would travel, spend a few bucks traveling, go to New York City, see what's hot in LA, see what's hot in Miami Beach, see what's hot in Mexico City. And I've done that too, by the way. I've traveled all over the world, and I always find a gym to go to.
One of our favorite things to do.
Oh,
is
yeah.
to go check gyms out while we're on the road.
The one of the best gyms I've ever been in my life is in Istanbul.
Okay.
You had to put on booties across your shoes to walk through it.
Yeah.
It was so immaculately clean. And I've been in a world gym in El Salvador where guys with machine guns were outside guarding and protecting people. So it's like it's fun business.
You've seen the full gamut.
I've seen the full gamut, but I love the business. And that's the other thing. You have to have a true raw passion for it. I think if your goal's just to make money, probably not the right business, because it might be quite a while before you make big money.
Sure.
But certainly if your passion's there, and you have to love people too, because I think that would differentiate a club that you and I would have versus the big guys, because you can spend more money than me, but you're not going to be able to love people as much as me. You're not going to be able to treat people the way I treat them. You don't have the infrastructure to do that. Meaning not you, but meaning the big corporations.
Exactly. Next question. This is a little more personally towards you. So you're one of those guys, like I'm, reading your resume, and I did some, I've known about you a long time, but I did a lot of research for this conversation. And you just like, how does someone accomplish all of this stuff? And you're like, does time slow down for Larry? Like, so I'm always interested in like how mega successful people, just spend their day? Like, what does a typical day look like? Maybe now, and then maybe when you had, say, the most amount of gyms open. What was like a typical day?
Well, I'll tell you my peak. So my peak was I had a gym in South Beach. I had a gym in Houston. I had 6 gyms in the area. I had big gyms, small gyms. I had books that were out. I had a golden award-winning infomercial. I had a hot restaurant. I was on the move. I was speaker too. So I speak.
Oh yeah,
I'll speak to 2. I'll speak to 200. I'll speak to 2,000. I love it. I feed off it, and I'm good at it. There's no question. I have a lot of material, even non-fitness related material. So my days then, it was like an adrenaline rush. Waking up, I couldn't wait to wake up. It was like an adrenaline rush because what new can I do today? Because I believed anything I put in my head I could do, and I did. Yeah. I'm older now, and I'm an older person. So now I'm all about my relationships with people that are meaningful. And I guarantee you look at my texts. And I love you, I appreciate you, at least 3-4 times a day, to male friends, to family friends. I just sort of spread love and kindness, and that's sort of who I am and where I want to be right now in my life. So I'm a lot slower, but I do different things that still create value. But I'm not, I would say I used to force it and bulldoze my way to get things happening. Now they sort of just come to me more. Yeah. Like it's more like it comes to me, and so my days then were just full of I don't even know when I slept.
Yeah. What time did the alarm clock go off?
Never did. I woke up automatically, 4 or 5, just automatic. I still do just automatic. I don't need it. I just have a built-in alarm clock, and so. But it's like I told my son. I said, I took him to one of my mentors. And that's the other thing too, Greg. I've always looked up to certain people. I've sought them out. Norm Brinkers, Ross Perot Sr., Darwin Deason, self-made billionaire who I'm still beloved friends with. I said, Darwin, my son's about to go to New York. He's about to start a new job. Would you talk to him? And he gave the same advice to him as he gave to me. He said, show up early, leave late, volunteer for as much work as you can do, no matter how busy you think you are. You're not that busy. And persistence and perseverance will overcome. And then first question my son, he goes, well, what about education? He goes, let me see. There's 4 PhDs I know that don't even make a dime. He says, there's nothing wrong with education. But persistence and perseverance and work ethic, that will take you further than anything. Because listen, I'm old school. That's I come from that side.
Yeah, sure.
And it's and you can hire people with Harvard degrees and things like that. And nothing against education, but I think it's just if you have a lot of giddy up today, like you're 33, so you're sort of in between Gen X and sort of millennial, but I have found that the millennials and Gen Xers that sort of have hustle, if they hustle, they just shine. Yeah, because it's
less of it.
It's less of it, but you can really make a lot for yourself. So yeah. But back to your question, my day, I have the best life. I have the coolest dog-cat combo. They love each other. They hang out with each other. They come and greet me at the same time. I have a beautiful wife, not just beautiful on the exterior, beautiful on the inside. I have a wonderful family. I have friendships that are so freaking deep. Even friends that I went to junior high in New York live here. Yeah, I have those kind of friends. Where your ego is in your pocket 100% of the time. And so I just I start my day my wife said, you do the same thing every day. I said, yeah, because I like it. It's a good formula. Yeah, I go get the breakfast. I go work out. I go do a little cardio. I take notes, and I have the easiest schedule though. Because I don't really work. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I worked. I think I worked when I built swimming pools or worked at a gas station. Sure. That's the one part about our line of work. It's pretty easy if you think about it. So.
Yeah. And then, so one of the interviews I was watching with you too, and this will be the last question here. You said that you like to study kind of the great minds of our time, not our time, but of time. And you said a lot of people that, I think you mentioned Einstein and Da Vinci and a few other names, but had some of their greatest accomplishments in the later parts of their life. Right, so
Mark Twain.
What's on Larry North's agenda?
Well, I'm going to be 59 in February. I bought I only usually buy one pair of jeans at a time. I don't know why. And then the fashion police, my daughter and my wife, made me get rid of all my True Religion jeans. Okay. But I thought they fit well. Yeah. And so I bought 32s recently.
Okay.
So I thought, they fit pretty well. So could I fit into a 31 since I haven't been a 31 since I was like 9 years old. So I'm like, that's my new goal.
Okay.
But what's in my future is I've transitioned into private equity just through making some investments with a particular firm that I love. They're all about conscious capitalism. So they first brought in my wife who does they built a meditation room for her. We bring in healthy food every day. I'm part-time, but I'm quite impactful because of my relationships. Because in the private equity world, finance world, investment banking world, it's all relationships and trust. Yeah. And so I guess one of the perks that I have, having done what I've had, having accomplished what I have, is people trust me, and they should. And I have really meaningful relationships that cross over to all walks of life. So for me, it's just enjoying life and going a little bit more inward, finding out things about myself. I'm not big into awards, but I did win an award last year, and it was based on the desire to keep learning. And that's the one thing you learn, is that there's no end game. You start really, I think it takes till you get to your 50s till you really start learning more about yourself that you might have even not been aware of or been in denial. So I'm just sort of coming to terms with things about myself that I can be a better person and do better things in a different way other than in the fitness industry. Sure. But I'll always keep my toes in that water because it's just what I've done my whole life.
Yeah, it's your DNA.
Yeah, but honestly, I have a really blessed life. I have a good life. I just I wouldn't change much. I don't. People have asked. They'll ask generically, like, what do you regret in life? I don't have time to go back and regret anything. Like anything that happened, I'm still here. Like I'm in this moment in time. I'm doing a podcast with Greg, and I'm having a good time. So what does that matter? So yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I thank you so much, Larry, for spending time with us today, and
my pleasure.
For the stories and for the wisdom. Really, really appreciate it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Where can they follow your gyms or anything that you're up to?
LarryNort.com is our gym. So we have a gym in Westlake, which is really spectacular, actually. Very successful club in Westlake. We're sort of the it in Westlake, Southlake. And then I have a cool gym in Preston Center.
I love that gym.
It's so cool. Yeah. It really is cool.
My wife likes to take pictures in that gym.
It's a lot of people photograph in there, and they do video in there. And it's just a cool, fun club. And so I'm easy to find. I mean, and I'm easy to get a hold of too. Larry@LarryNort.com. And that's another bit of advice. Return every phone call, even if it's someone you really don't want to talk to. Just return the call. Open every piece of mail. You never know what's in it. And so, it's all good.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome, Larry. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.